Hey, it's Chris, and I want to say thank you to our veterans, active duty military, and first responders for serving our great nation. You're listening to The Chris Carlisle Show, hosted by me, Chris Carlisle. Okay, well, this week we're going to take a look back at the year 1972, which started on Saturday, January 1st. I turned 3 years old that year. The single chip microprocessor was invented by Intel. The first time ever I saw Your Face by Roberta Flack was the top song. The Godfather, The Getaway, What's Up, Doc? The Poseidon Adventure were the top films. The Godfather, based on the novel by Mario Puzo, was directed by Francis Ford Coppola and starring Marlon Brando and Al Pacino. It's the story of the Corleone crime family, and it earned $101 million at the box office. And a guy woke up with a horse's head in his bed. All in the Family, What's Up, Doc? Was a comedy starring Ryan O'Neal and Barbara Streisand. Now, All in the Family, Sanford and Son, Maud, Here's Lucy, and The Brady Bunch were the top TV shows. All in the Family, created by Norman Lear, starring Carol O'Connor, Gene Stapleton, Rob Reiner, and Sally Struthers, was on CBS. The show revolved around conflict between conservative Archie Bunker, played by O'Connor, and progressive son-in-law Michael Stivic, who Archie called Meathead, with Archie's wife Edith, played by Stapleton, and Mike's wife and Archie's daughter Gloria, played by Struthers, caught in the middle. The show was the first sitcom to deal with real-world issues like the war in Vietnam, racism, abortion, and other issues. Sanford and Son, also created by Norman Lear, starred Red Fox and Damon Wilson as father and son junk dealers Fred and Lamont Sanford. Like Archie and Chibunker and Mike Stivic, Fred and Lamont often butted heads. I've seen memes on Facebook with Carol O'Connor as Archie and Red Fox as Fred, talking about how nobody would get people today wouldn't be able to watch those without getting some kind of help or something like that. Anyway, Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? The Bugaloos, Josie and the Pussycats, The Bugs Bunny Show, Jackson 5, The Jetsons, and The Pebbles and Bam Bam Show were the top cartoons on Saturday morning. ABBA, The Eagles, John Lennon, Paul Simon, Michael Jackson, Rod Stewart, Elton John, Don McLean, and David Bowie were the top singers. The musical Grease had its first run. The first ever Star Trek convention was held at the Statler Hilton Hotel in New York City. President Richard Nixon was the most famous person in America. Jonathan Livingston's sequel by Richard Bach and Watership Down by Richard Adams were the top books. The French Connection won the Oscar for Best Picture from 1971. Rent that year cost $165. Income was $11,800. Gas cost 55 cents, and I think that was still when it had lead in it, because I can remember a few years later my mom requesting unleaded gas. A Kodak pocket camera cost $28. Wrangler jeans cost $12. A ladies' Timex cost $30. A Ford Pinto cost $2,078. My aunt and uncle had one of those. A Frisbee cost 74 cents. Hellman's mayonnaise cost $1.39. A pound of strawberries cost 31 cents. Ground beef cost 98 cents. A can of fruit cocktail cost 20 cents. Stamp cost 8 cents. A loaf of bread cost 25 cents. A dozen eggs cost 36 cents. And a pound of bacon cost 83 cents. The first video game, Pong, was released. The silly string was invented by accident. HBO launched. The Price is Right premiered, and it's still on today. Loretta Lynn became the first woman to win CMA Entertainer of the Year for country music. The rock band Kiss was formed, as was the rock band ABBA. Balanced dryer sheets were introduced. The first Popeyes opened in Louisiana. The nacho cheese Doritos came out. Carnival Cruise Line started. TLC, the Learning Channel, was founded by NASA and the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. The Magnavox Odyssey, the first video game console, was released. A meteor was seen in the daytime over Canada. The Space Shuttle program was started. NASA launched the Landsat satellite. The Dow Jones closed above 1,000 for the first time. NASA also launched the Copernicus satellite and the Pioneer 10 space probe, which was its mission was the first to travel past the asteroid belt and go to Jupiter. The life expectancy was 67.4 years for men and 75.1 years for women. Martin Mull was the top funny guy. Don Rickles was the other funny guy. Lily Tomlin was the funny girl. George Carlin was the other funny guy. Top names for babies were Jennifer, Michelle, Lisa, Kimberly, and Amy for girls. Chris, Michael, Topher, James, David, and John for boys. Topher, in case you don't know, was another nickname for Christopher, like Chris. Adrienne Barbeau, Diane Cannon, Veronica Carlson, Linda Carter, Pam Grier, Peggy Lipton, Barbara Streisand, and Diana Ross were the prettiest actresses and singers. Richard Roundtree, Burt Reynolds, Marlon Brando, and Elvis Presley were the top male celebrities. There are some quotes from that year. "Hey Mikey, he likes it," from the Life cereal commercial. "The mind is a terrible thing to waste," from the United Negro College Fund. "I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse," Marlon Brando and The Godfather. "Nothing runs like a deer," from John Deere. President Nixon and National Security Advisor Dr. Henry Kissinger, who just turned 100 by the way, were Time Magazine's Men of the Year. Laura Lee Schaefer from Ohio was Miss America. Tanya Wilson from Hawaii was Miss USA. The Dallas Cowboys cheerleader started. The Oakland A's won the World Series in 4 games over the Cincinnati Reds. The Los Angeles Lakers won the NBA title in 5 games over the New York Knicks. The Boston Bruins won the Stanley Cup in 6 games over the New York Rangers. Jack Nicklaus won the U.S. Open in golf. Ali Nastasi and Billie Jean King won the U.S. Open in tennis. Stan Smith and Billie Jean King won at Wimbledon. USC was the national champions in football. UCLA were the national champions in basketball. Beaver Ridge won the Kentucky Derby. Sandy Koufax was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Nixon went on an 8-day trip to China. We met with the Chinese leaders Mao and Zhou. The DNC headquarters in the Watergate in Washington were broken into. The 5 men who were arrested were later revealed to be working for the Nixon re-election campaign. At the Olympics in Munich, Mark Spitz won 6 gold medals. The U.S. Olympic basketball team got screwed out of a gold medal. And on a sad note, 11 Israeli athletes were killed by terrorists. President Nixon and Vice President Spiro Agnew were re-elected over a Democrat nominee, Senator George McGovern of South Dakota, and his running mate, Sergeant Shriver. Nixon carried 49 states, including Senator McGovern's home state of South Dakota, while Senator McGovern only carried Massachusetts and D.C. The last Apollo moon mission was Apollo 17. The Equal Rights Amendment was passed by Congress and sent to the states to be ratified. Former President Truman died at his home in Kansas City, Missouri, at age 88. Singers Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, and Jim Morrison also died. Actor and former pro wrestler Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, actress Sofia Vergara, Basketball Hall of Famer Shaquille O'Neal, actress Jennifer Garner, actor Ben Affleck, and actress Gabrielle Union were born. My sister turned 2 that year. We lived in Houston. My dad worked for a cleaning company. My mom had been a photographer before we were born. By that time, she was a stay-at-home mom. An epilogue. In 1973, it started to come out that President Nixon covered up the campaign's involvement in Watergate, and that led to his resignation in 1974 when Gerald Ford took over as president. An unrelated scandal, Vice President Agnew had resigned in late 1973. There were 2 more sequels of The Godfather. All in the Family lasted until 1980 when it became Archie Bunker's place, and that lasted until 83. I got a download from Canada. That was on the episode about the golden age of comics, I think. While last week's episode talking about 1967 got 3 views on YouTube. Anyway, thank you for listening. Hi, I'm Chris, and thank you for listening to my podcast, The Chris Carlisle Show. The Chris Carlisle Show is available on Spreaker. Please leave a like and a review, and also a follow. It's also available on Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeart, Podchaser, and Podcast Addict. And now, ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem.